the springs on your Ford F-150, the custom two-piece model. In this episode of Repair Geek, I show you how to get them changed out. So this particular truck, I'm going to be putting on quick struts. Reason being, this truck has 120,000 miles on it, and it didn't make a whole lot of sense to me to put brand new springs on struts that have 120,000 miles on them. Customer was fine with it, so that's the route I'm going to go. If you got a high mileage truck, it's definitely a good way to go. I think they were $130 a piece. You should replace shocks or struts in pairs, so figure to spend about $260 on this, depending on where you get them from. But the ones I got are Monroe's. I'll put links down in the description for them. With that, let's get started. First thing I'm going to do is try and get this tie rod end out of the way. The nut on it is a 21 millimeter. Hopefully comes out off without too much of an issue. So now I'm going to hit the side of this with my air hammer. Hopefully I'll break the taper on the tie rod end, and this thing should basically just fall down out of the way, and we'll be able to move it off to the side. Saw it drop. Hopefully that should buy us enough space that we can wiggle that whole strut assembly out of there. The next thing I'm going to go after are the three nuts on top. The one in the back you cannot see. What you see, that stud you see sticking up, is what is holding the spring to the strut. It's in the middle. It's identical to the two on the left and the right there. I'm going to go ahead and zip these out real quick. These nuts on top are 15 millimeter, in case you're keeping score at home. The new struts come with new studs and nuts for the top, so if you have to cut these off, not a big deal at all. The next one we're going after is this large one on the bottom. Hopefully we'll be able to get this one out and pull this whole strut out. It's torqued to 350 foot-pounds. So it is very, very tight. You're going to need some sort of breaker bar or an impact gun or something pretty decent to be able to get this thing off. Has a nut on the back side. I'm going to try and zip the nut off with an impact first, and then hopefully be able to drive the bolt out the front. That's my plan. Hopefully the front side does not spin. So the nut on the back side here is 30 millimeter. I'm going to give this impact a shot. Hopefully get this thing off. Well, thank God that came at least easy. If the nut does not come off like it's supposed to, you can always apply a little bit of heat to it, but one thing you got to be mindful of is this is a nylock style nut, so you'll burn the nylon right out of it if you get it too hot, and you'll need a new nut. What I'm going to do to get this bolt out, or at least try to get it moving, I'm going to hopefully get this on here a couple threads, hit it with the air hammer, and see how easily this thing moves. All right. Got it moving. I'm going to get a jack underneath this thing and just hold the bottom of the control arm up a little bit just so this thing doesn't try to spring down. I don't know how much it's going to move when I get that bolt completely out of there. Once you get all the bolts out, I lift the truck back up, and then I just stuck a pry bar underneath here. Got it worked out as much as I could. And it should come out here. Let's see. She's moving. There we go. And there's our problem right there. Alright, I'm going to start these top nuts and just leave them on there loose because I got to get the bottom of this thing started. I just don't want the top and falling out and the whole thing coming crashing down. Monroe gives you new nuts for the top, so if your old studs break off, not a big deal. So I got the bottom in after some wrestling. The top is still loose, so what I'm going to try and do is tighten all the hardware on the top, hoping it'll pick the whole thing up, and then that should line up my bolt hole, or at least get it closer than what it is. Alright, now that I got those tight, I'm going to work on the bottom. I have to go in a little bit. You can stick a pry bar down on the bottom in here, pry up or down, whatever you need to do. But be prepared to wrestle with this thing a little bit just to get everything back lined up. I went ahead and put some anti-seize on the bolt just to try and keep it from seizing up in the lower control arm and the strut. If this has to come apart later at a later time for whatever reason, it'll make it hopefully that much easier to get apart. So I'm going to go ahead and put the bottom nut on. If you had to use a torch to get this off, I recommend getting a new nut because this is a nylock. You'll burn the nylock right out of it. I'm going to reuse this one. I'm going to put a little bit of red Loctite on it before I put it on here. It gets torqued to 350 foot-pounds. I don't have a torque wrench that goes that high. Even my Snap-on half-inch drive torque wrench only goes to 250. So I'm going to torque it to 250 and hit it with the impact. Just give it a couple good burps and make sure it actually moves. And that's what I'm going to leave it at. Just basically get it as tight as you can get it if you only have hand tools. Front side is 27 millimeters, so I'm going to hold that while I hit it with the impact just to run the bolt in. Now that that's done, Go ahead and put our tie rod end on. Probably be a good idea to get an alignment after you have this done, simply because there's a possibility you could change the ride height of the vehicle and it would affect your alignment setting. So something to keep in mind. This one is a nylock as well, so if you had to heat this up, get a new nut. I'm putting a little bit of Loctite on here, just because these don't have cotter pins, so alright guys, that's it. I'll put links down in the description to the quick struts that I used, to a good torque wrench and a good impact that will definitely help you out on this job. It's not that hard, but torquing something to 350 foot-pounds isn't easy. You need a good breaker bar at the minimum. With that, if you like the video, hit like. If you want to see more content, hit subscribe. Thanks for watching, guys.